Call the Lancaster County Board of Supervisors December 15, 2022 meeting to order. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. We have the public input session, and anything that's not on the present agenda you can talk about. And you have 3 minutes. Time allotment is 3 minutes. At the end of 2 minutes, I will raise this sign. That means you have 1 minute to talk, left to talk. Okay. And state your name and district that you're from.
I'm John Muller, and I live in District 5. For as long as I can remember, I have enjoyed the comfort and quiet repose of my neighborhood, and I'm here representing myself and my neighbors. About a year and a half ago, some folks bought property across the cove from us, and a property which fronts Black Stump Road. And while I understand we all use lawnmowers and blowers and chainsaws and the construction equipment is necessary, they have been operating very loud ATVs and shooting at all times of the day and night. And so that's my reason for being here this evening, and would like to propose that you all consider what I would call a measuring stick for the noise ordinance that we have. It's a beautiful ordinance, but by adding a measuring stick, say, of so many decibels that it would be allowed during the day and so many at night, say 65 during the day and 55 at night, based on the property line, be most helpful, I think, to the county. Helpful in one respect, that as the county is growing, you know, we have a new car wash going in. We've had other commercial properties going up, residential properties going up, a new school. All of these things, the county is growing, and I would think that the county would benefit from having this additional specificity to the ordinance. Now, Crystal Way was very kind and provided you with a packet that each of you have tonight, and we have emailed each of you that packet so you can have it whenever you need it. Would just like you to consider that over the next few months. I know it's a long process, but I thank you for giving us this time tonight, and thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else want to speak during this public session here? Anybody online?
No, sir.
Okay. Public input session is now closed. Mr. Bryant? VDOT?
No. Mr. Beal.
Mr. Beal, okay.
David Beal,
All right.
Virginia Department of Transportation. I gave Mike the night off, so
Okay, good.
I think he's down in Reeville eating dinner with the Farm Bureau.
He is.
So-
I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, I thought tonight at VDOT, we start our meetings with a safety message, and I thought tonight maybe I'll just take a minute. A couple things this week. Every time there's an accident in the Northern Neck within the residency, I'll get an email about the road being closed and what happened and updates, and so my phone buzzes all the time. And this week there was a fatality in Westmoreland, and just coming down here on the way down here in the rain, it's a 2-lane road. You never more than a couple feet every time a car passes you away from the worst or the last day of your life. And I think a lot of times when we're driving, it just, you take it for granted that you're going to get to where you want to be, and you don't give it any thought unless something happens. But I just encourage everybody, and I encourage you to encourage your friends and neighbors, especially around the holiday season, to be intentional about your driving. Don't drive distracted, impaired. When there's inclement weather, if you can stay home, stay home. But just be intentional about your driving so that you get where you want to be, and you don't ruin somebody else's day either. So anyway, it's a joyous time of year, but you're doing different things, traveling different areas you might not be familiar with. I just encourage everybody to be intentional about their driving so you can arrive safely.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
On our list here, we've been busy with maintenance. We've cut brush on various routes. We've done some shoulder repairs. We're repairing driveways and signs throughout the county. We've repaired a slope on Route 3, and we are ready for that four-letter word that falls from the sky this time of year, that's cold and white and shall remain nameless. But we have filled up all of our brine tankers, and we are ready to go on that. So upcoming, we have more of the same, continue to cut brush and clean ditches and address work orders. And if you've looked at the 10-day forecast, I'm not the weatherman, but I do keep up with the forecast. The 22nd and 23rd is not looking promising. If you are in the that which shall remain nameless plowing business, so y'all plan your holiday events accordingly. But we are ready for whatever it brings. But please don't flush any ice cubes or wear your pajamas inside out before the first of the year. On the rest of my report, we were able to finish up Route 3 here after they redid that center line, so the plant mix schedule is complete. The secondary 6-year plan, we're still a year or so away, a couple years away from Davis Mill. The smart scale projects are a couple years out. And the one structure and bridge project is supposed to be advertised, the Route 3 scour repair project at Camps Prong. It's supposed to be advertised this month, but it looks like it's going to get pushed to February. But as soon as I have a firm date on that, I'll update my report. But that's everything I have for you all. If you all have anything for me, I'm happy to take that down.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
A couple of questions. Are they currently underdoing maintenance on the Norris Bridge?
No, I'm not aware of any maintenance efforts on the bridge.
Or any scheduled? And other than that, a few months ago, I spoke about having somebody from the Fredericksburg office come down here and brief us on the replacements, details and schedule, and
Yes.
what input we'd have. Is there any update on that, or when that could possibly happen?
Yes, so we are working with a consultant, finalizing their contract. They're going to do a preliminary study on the alignment of the new bridge, height of the new bridge, all those things. And at that time, it was estimated that that would be done in the spring. I now expect it to be done in the summer. So I think that meeting will be most productive after that work is complete. So hopefully in the next 6 months or so, we can schedule that meeting and have a productive meeting about the bridge.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And you all are aware of the county's desire to retain a portion of the old bridge for
Yes.
public access?
Yes.
Again, thank you for that safety tip. I think a lot of times we do take it for granted that we're gonna get from point A to point B. So we need to be reminded every so often that it's not a given that you're gonna leave her here and go home.
Right.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you all. Have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Presentations, schools.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Here to give a quick update on the renovation at the middle school. It is really coming together, starting to look like a new school. Starting tomorrow, we are transitioning. We're moving our students and staff from one side of the building to the other side of the building. So when they return on January 3rd, they'll be in newly refreshed rooms. The only thing that's missing from those rooms are the lights, which we're still waiting on. But it looks really nice. When you walk through it now, it's kind of hard to believe that in 2 weeks it'll be inhabited, but it will be. So we're going to go through these slides. This is just, again, a picture of the front view, the front entrance of the new elementary school, which will open up in the fall. And the next slide is we are going to open up a new traffic pattern returning January 3rd because we will have classes on the opposite side of the building. So we've put this out everywhere that we possibly can so that parents know, and we're going to continue to over the break, and we'll have it really well marked and really well manned upon return. But the buses are going to now go back to the original bus loop on the left side of the building, and all of the parents will be coming through on our new loop road, which is there in red and blue on the right, that will come around the ECEC. So the kids will enter into what used to be the 8th grade hall. So we're flipping that, be kind of a test run for us for traffic for next year too, when we have even more folks in that building. So we're well planned for it. Hopefully it goes smooth. I'm sure there'll be a few hiccups with any type of traffic pattern change. And on the next slide, we have, oh, that's where the kids will be going in.
Okay. Next slide.
Yeah, next slide. And that's where the 3 and 4-year-olds will be entering.
Oh, okay.
There is a slide after this. You can keep going, Dawn, to the
Okay.
next.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. So this is the timeline of work, and we're on track right now. Right now, the students and staff are working in areas 6, 5, 2, and 7. Areas 1 and 3 and 4 have been closed. That is where they will be on January 3rd, is over to the 1, 3, and 4 area, still utilizing the gym and the cafeteria and the art room on kind of around area 8. So that'll just be a flip. You can see the timeline up there. We are pretty much on track for where we're supposed to be right now, as long as no hiccups come up. Yep. This is just showing the work out front. They've laid the gravel for the parking lot and some of the sidewalks. Getting ready to pour that foundation there, hopefully over the next couple weeks. This will be the sidewalk where parents and visitors will enter temporarily for the next several months. This connects to the loop road. So our front office will be temporarily located right inside there, but that big white part will become the new front entrance and front office area when the school is completed. Next slide. This is just a classroom that they're moving into. It's all refreshed. The walls are painted. New window coverings. The ceiling tiles are all new, which really changes the room. It looks amazing. The new ventilation system in there, and the floors, they were terrazzo, so all we had to do was grind them down, and they look brand new. They look fabulous. So this picture was taken about 2 weeks ago. Since then, we have furniture in there now. We have the furniture in there and ready to go for the move. Next slide. This is a picture of the ductwork on top of the building. We redid the HVAC system, which brings in, it's an outside air system, so it brings fresh air into all of the classrooms throughout the entire school. Next slide. Just another picture of the ductwork. And this is the stormwater. There's been a lot of preparation underground for the stormwater and the runoff. So that's just a picture of that land work out there. Next. And this is where, this is another picture of it. However, we ran into a little glitch here when they were, last week, they were digging these trenches and pulled up the old lights in the previous parking lot, which was right there. And when they pulled up the cement, the water system was running right through the cement, so it broke. Luckily, it was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and The kids never even knew it happened, just moved on. But they did fix it right away and got a line in there, which you'll see in the next slide. Well, just keep clicking forward.
Okay.
That's the break. That's the break. It was running right through the cement there for whatever reason, unknown. The next slide, okay. That's the new line. They went ahead and they put it in really quick. It was done within like 24 hours, which was amazing. And this is another, this was kind of an unexpected turn for us. About 2 months ago, the sewage was backing up. And the line, that sewage line that ran out from the Early Childhood Center, the grade was not quite where it should be, and it was backing up. So we did have to close school early one day. The guys got a good plan in place temporarily to pump it, so it is pumped daily and weekly. We are gonna have to put a new sewage line in there, and that map right there is just showing where the sewage line begins, at the top there by the Early Childhood Center. It runs over to, close to the auditorium and across around the current front of the middle school, and that is where it will end. It will run out to School Street. So it's about 80 feet of sewage line that, will be replaced. And the good thing is we did realize it happened before we put in that new road, the blacktop for it. So we're getting that done before the blacktop goes in. And that's it. So we're doing our big move soon. It's looking good. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions, gentlemen? Okay, we're moving along good.
We have some students receiving state championship rings tonight at our high school, so I'm gonna head over there. Thank you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right. Public hearing. Let's go to conveyance of deeds. Mr. Gill?
Mr. Chairman, public hearing number 1 deals with a conveyance of a deed of dedication of perpetual open space to the Virginia Outdoors Foundation for the new proposed Carter Cove Park in Weems, tax map number 33-164. As you did last month, you also approved a similar deed of dedication of perpetual open space to the VOF for the Triway Trail that goes through Hills Quarter, the first section of it, the first 1.7 miles. So the reason that VOF requires these deed of dedication of perpetual open space is so that we can obtain the grant funding from them that we have been approved for. VOF has approved $150,000 to the county to help develop the Carter Cove Park. So we need to approve this deed and get it recorded. They had a template deed which we filled in, and County Attorney Jim Cornwell and I reviewed this, and after we reviewed it, we sent it to VOF, and just got their edits back. It was either late yesterday or this morning, I can't remember, but you have that in front of you, public hearing number 1, where it says VOF edits. And you can see to the right in that little comment box, it just says we may not want to be as specific as we are describing the park. If you want to be more general, I really have no problem with being that specific, but if you all want to change that language, we can do that to be more general. On page 2, just a couple of little edits there, just 2 more. She said updated template language to add clarification. And in number 4, where it talks about the total impervious cover on the surface, they typically like to see 10%, but I put in 50% because I knew that I didn't want to box this in. I wanted to make sure that we had a higher percentage so that we wouldn't have to go back and redo a deed and record it again. We're going to have a pretty good-sized parking lot there for the truck and boat trailer traffic, as well as car traffic for the picnic pavilion and the Working Waterfront Museum when that gets going. So I put 50% in there. She didn't like that, so she came back and said, can we do 25? And I think we can make 25% work. So my suggestion there would be to replace 50% with 25%.
Okay. Jenny, before I open it up for the public comment session, do you have any questions or comments? Again, I'm getting ready to open it up for public comments. You have 3 minutes, and I will hold it up at the end of 2 minutes that you have 1 minute left. All right? Anyone want to speak on this? No one. Anybody online? No, sir. All right. Public comment session is now closed. I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the conveyance of the deed of dedication with the necessary corrections.
Okay, you heard the motion. All ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Okay. Update of chapter 7. Bill, Mr. Farrell?
Yes, sir. All right, sir. Per the Code of Virginia 15.2-2230 requires the Board of Supervisors to review the comprehensive plan at least once every 5 years. The current comprehensive plan was adopted by the Board of Supervisors on October 31st, 2013. As you can see, attached is a copy of the current Chapter 17 version of the comprehensive plan with edits and highlights for your consideration and updates. On November 10th, 2022, the Lancaster County Planning Commission voted and approved the update version that's presented in front of you to move to the Board of Supervisors for approval.
Okay. Gentlemen, y'all have any questions or comments? Okay. Floor is now open for comments from the public. Do we have anyone to comment from the public? Anybody online? Okay. Floor is now closed. I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt Chapter 7 of the comprehensive plan update.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous vote.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Request from Dr. Wineland. Mr. Gill?
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Richard Wineland has made a request application to place a single no-wake buoy at the narrowing in the mid-body of Taylor Creek. The latitude and longitude have been advertised and are written before you. That would create a no-wake zone upstream of that point. Pursuant to the Code of Virginia 29.1-744, the applicant must get the Board of Supervisors' approval before this can go forward to the Department of Wildlife Resources. I will add that should the board decide to approve this and send this forward, that's not automatically, saying that it's going to be done. The Department of Wildlife Resources has the final say on this. They could approve what you all send forward. They can modify it and approve it, or they could deny it. It all depends. The board this is the fourth no-wake zone request since 2014 that the board has considered. You approved a no-wake zone request near the Mary Point Ferry back in 2014. You also approved a no-wake zone request on Dimer Creek in 2017. For example, DGIF at that time, which was the predecessor name to the Department of Wildlife Resources, they modified the board's request on Dimer Creek in 2017 but subsequently approved that modification. And the board also approved a no-wake zone request on Carter Creek, in 2018. In all those prior requests, the applicant has been responsible for all costs associated with purchasing and installing and maintaining the no-wake buoy. What makes this project a little bit different than those prior ones is the fact that the county owns property now within this no-wake zone, the proposed Taylor Creek Park. So should the board decide to move forward and approve this, perhaps some consideration should be given by the board to sharing the cost of the purchase and installation costs and maintenance costs of the no-wake buoy, as the county would be one of the beneficiaries of the no-wake zone should it move forward. The Virginia Conservation Police would be responsible for the enforcement of the no-wake zone. This issue has been advertised and adjoining property owners notified as required by law. I sent out 78 adjoining property owner notifications. I received a lot of feedback through email mainly, and in the package you have both support emails and opposition emails. I'm sure most people are here tonight to speak on this issue, and you'll hear more tonight. Dr. Wineland is here. He has a short PowerPoint presentation that he would like to present, and I'll be glad to answer any other questions that you have for me.
All right, gentlemen, before we have Dr., and we're gonna open up the public session after his presentation.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
All right, so you wanna hold off for questions of anything till after the presentation? Gentlemen? Okay, I will do that. All right, Dr. Wine, thank you, sir.
Testing, testing.
Let's see, hold on here.
I would like to thank the board for allowing me to present our initiative for our no-wake zone. I would also like to thank supportive friends for their work towards a calmer, safer creek. I'm going to address both erosion and safety on the creek. Next slide. This is an aerial photo of Taylor's Creek in 1953, showing only 6 docks on the whole creek. By 2021, there were 73 docks as per Google Earth. There's the potential for the development of approximately 30 more lots. Many permanent residents living on Taylor's Creek for more than 10 years have noticed increased erosion, property damage, and now have safety concerns for themselves and their family. This has been our permanent home for 33 years. For years, we kept our boat tied at the dock. However, with increased boat traffic and damage due to boat wakes, we had to move it to a lift to prevent further injury. Next slide. Taylor's Creek is a shallow creek with a maximum depth of only 8 feet. It has multiple sandbars, several narrow branches, and areas of narrowing in the main body. Next. Waves are destructive. Next. Boat wake studies. These were conducted by the Maryland Department of Natural Resources. They say narrow and shallow creeks are damaged more readily because of their inability to dissipate wave energy. The total energy from boat waves does not decline significantly until after 200 feet from the boat. Distances of more than 500 feet from the boat are needed to significantly reduce that energy. Pulling a skier can up to double the destructive wave energy. Waves from wind are usually superficial. Boat wakes are much deeper, more powerful, and more destructive. Turning a boat can more than double the wake energy. Research shows that most creeks reach an equilibrium with the environment. Erosion is then minimal until that equilibrium is disturbed by boating activity. A study done near Norfolk surmised that to the detriment of natural surroundings, a significant amount of riprap was placed on the shoreline solely to protect it from boat wake damage. Next slide. Erosion. Consequences of progressive erosion are property loss and devaluation, silting in and smothering of oyster beds, subaqueous plants, and fish habitat, and loss of marsh critical to the bay's ecosystem. There is also potential further extension of sandbars, making parts of the creek less accessible and travel more dangerous. Incidentally, the 2020 NOAA map of Taylor's Creek shows 6 sandbars that were not seen on previous maps. Next. This is from the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. I don't know if the people in the back can see that, but boat wakes cause bank erosion, cause undercutting, cause bank failure, and that just goes around and around. So the following are examples of this happening on Taylor's Creek. Next slide. This is a point that is protected from prevailing winds and waves. It has a southern exposure and should be growing marsh grasses. Despite that, it is eroding at a significant rate of approximately 1 foot every 1.5 to 2 years. I know hired experts may tell you it's all due to weather. However, I have watched large parts of the bank slough off when boat wakes hit it. This point has lost approximately 20 feet. Next slide. This is a point even more protected from wind and weather, but it's not protected from boat wakes. Next. This is an area in the creek that is exposed both to weather and boat wakes. It has lost more than 60 feet of shoreline since I've lived here. Dr. Donna Marie Bilkovic, a VIMS research professor, yesterday sent us her research paper entitled Defining Boat Wake Impacts on Shoreline Stability Towards Management and Policy Solutions. Their studies specifically note Taylor's Creek as one area. Statistics. Next slide, please. Okay, all these slides are taken on Taylor's Creek. The Coast Guard says the primary accident type was a vessel hitting another vessel, and these are statistics from 2021. Next slide. The top-ranking primary accidents were due to operator inexperience or inattention. Here, a jet skier pulls a tuber over top of a sandbar and submerged jetty while coming into Taylor's Creek. I personally have had a jet skier traveling at high speed hit the jetty outside my house and come to a crashing halt. In addition, several months ago, a Taylor Creek homeowner ran aground on one of the sandbars. The next week, he and his wife were signing the no-wake petition, as he said the creek was just too small. Next slide. In 2019 to 2020, there was a 25% increase in boating fatalities and a 26% increase in boating accidents nationwide. There was a slight decrease for 2021, but still a moderate increase for the time period in between 19 and 21. And here is a power boater that I feel is too close to a sailor. Plus they're pulling a skier, which is going to double the wake. Next. Boat wakes are the primary environmental cause of accidental injury. When a vessel could be identified after a boat, power boats, kayaks were the second most involved in fatalities. Flooding and swamping were the third most common accident. These are boat wakes from a skier going over the shoreline and riprap and close to going over the dock. Personally, I've seen multiple power boaters at the same time in the body of the creek pulling skiers while there were kayakers in the creek. Next slide. Turning a boat or a jet ski significantly increases the wake they emit and their hazard to paddlecraft. Boats that do sports on this creek have to make frequent turns, and those turns cause larger wakes. Some people are opposed because they say there's no significant activity in the creek and we don't need a no-wake zone. However, others are opposed because they say they don't want us to take away their skiing area. Next slide. These are Virginia statistics. From 2019 to 2020, paddlecraft deaths increased from 2 to 10, marking a 500% increase. In 2021, paddlecraft were involved in 32% of all boating fatalities. Boat wakes were the #1 environmental cause of injury needing assistance beyond first aid. Next slide, please. Okay, the proposed no-wake zone. Next slide. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so the proposed buoy would go right there. Most guys, when they come out of their branches here, are going slow enough so that they don't make a significant wake for their neighbors. It's this body right here that they speed up. And so we're asking them to give us an extra 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes here, maybe about 4 minutes here, and from here to here, 5 minutes going out of the creek. The majority, but not all, of Taylor's Creek landowners already limit their speeds and wakes, so this should be of little consequence to them. A no-wake buoy will remind other people to slow down and make the creek safer for paddlecraft. Next slide. Okay, so we have support from individuals, businesses, and environmental support. Next slide. Individual support. All these blue lines that you see are those in support by shoreline. The yellow line is where the county is putting in the kayak launch. The proposed no-wake shoreline is approximately 5.9 miles long. So that would start, the 5.9 miles starts right here and goes in. So this going in is 5.9. And out of that, 3.6 miles of that 5.9 have written to me in favor. Those who are opposed, from what I can tell, are 0.9 miles of shoreline. The total shoreline for the creek is approximately 7.4 miles long. Those in favor are 4.8 miles, and those opposed, 1.1 miles. Next. No, I'm not going to read all those. But I did pick out, these are supporting comments from people who sent me emails and letters. So I picked out 7. I was almost flipped in my kayak by a power boater. I am in favor of a no-wake zone. Protecting our environment and citizens at the same time is a win-win proposal for all concerned. The waves play havoc with the boats at our dock. I grew up in Weems, and grandfather was a waterman with property on Taylor Creek. Boat traffic has increased over the decades, and we expect that trend will continue. Once, only working and seasonal fishing boats visited our creek. Now boats and kayaks are a common sight throughout the year. No-wake signage will help guide the less experienced and weekend boaters. We worry about collisions as we paddle our kayaks in the creek. Our family has owned this property on the creek since 1947. We have noted the increase in speed of boats up and down the creek and the ensuing increase in erosion. I am strongly in support of a no-wake zone to protect future generations of children, including my grandchildren, who will glide across these waters on their canoes and kayaks. I got a letter of support from a local active real estate agent, and I think if she thought her property was going to go down, she would not have sent it. But several people have sent me letters saying they want support because they want property protection. Next slide. Individual support. I have sent letters or visited everybody that I could basically in the no-wake zone. I estimate there's approximately 143 individuals, some couples. That was to all the addresses. 73 individuals responded in favor of a no-wake zone. 6 were opposed, and 60 did not respond. Though I did not hear from these individuals, I understand that possibly up to 20 of the non-responders may be opposed. If that is the case, then it would be 73 supporting and 26 opposed. Next slide. Business support. We have support from the Tides Inn and Windswept Paddleboard Rentals in Irvington. Though the YMCA cannot officially support the no-wake zone, the recently retired executive director is in favor and mentioned that the YMCA on occasion has canoe and kayak interest groups on Taylor's Creek, and for safety reasons, he supports the no-wake zone. Next. Environmental support. I got a letter from Margaret Sanner, the Virginia Executive Director of the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. She wrote me saying, "Thank you for reaching out to me regarding this issue. You are, of course, correct that there is a strong association between the energy from boat wake activity and shoreline erosion and related problems. A no-wake zone could be very helpful, especially in small creeks. The Chesapeake Bay Foundation definitely supports this effort. We are so grateful to you and your care of our waterways. Next slide. In summary, we are requesting a partial no-wake zone on Taylor's Creek that will protect property and boat owners. By numbers of owners, the supporters are in favor 3-1. By mileage of waterfront, the supporters are in favor 4-1. I want to thank the board for their forethought and diligent planning. You have given visitors to the area and your fellow citizens an amazing gift of a park and a car tub boat launch on Taylor's Creek. This small creek, with its otters, ospreys, eagles, and dolphins, is a spectacular jewel. The vast majority of Taylor's Creek owners want a no-wake zone. I hope the board will grant all of us the gift of calm, sheltered waters so that we, our families, and visitors can safely enjoy the blessings Taylor Creek has to offer. Next slide. This is me and my daughter kayaking on the creek.
I don't see the arrow.
It's,
Here, watch this.
that's us on the creek. This is what we need to preserve. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lyman. Gentlemen, before I open it up to other comments, do you have any questions or comments of Mr. Gill or Dr. Lyman? Dr. Lyman? Okay, no questions. It is now opened up for public comment, and as I said, you have 3 minutes. At the end of 2, I'll raise this up, so you have 1 minute left. Okay? Do we have a list?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Horn, Robert Horn?
Good evening. My name's Robert Horn. My wife Susan and I have had a home on Taylor's Creek now for over 5 years, and it's 676 Holly Haven Road. One of the key considerations we made when we chose that location was the fact that Taylor's Creek was a quiet, secluded, protected creek that would be safe and well suited for our family. Our family ranges from 3 to 91, so safety and safety concerns and a safe environment and a quiet environment is very important. During the time we have resided on the creek, there have been no unsafe acts that we've observed, and we have a pretty good view of most of the creek, the widest length of it. And the thing is, Taylor's Creek is a fairly narrow creek, and it limits the amount of speed that you could do anyway, and especially since there's a lot of shallow areas that you could run aground on. Like is previously mentioned, the creek is 8-9 feet at high tide, and but the other areas are a lot shallower. Very few non-resident boaters come into the creek, except for maybe some crab boats. And one of the reasons there very few come in there is that it's a very convoluted way to get in. It's very specific, and if you don't follow the right route, you easily run aground. I understand that in addition to safety concerns, erosion is being cited as a rationale for a no-wake zone. During the 5+ years we've been there, we have not observed any erosion other than that is caused by heavy rains, storms, and that happens on unprotected shoreline, which is normal. A no-wake zone would not prevent that. Certainly not boat wakes are going to cause that. The people that operate the boats on our creek are very respectful of other people's property, their boats, their shorelines. We have scullers, we have kayakers, we have swimmers. The vast majority of homeowners with boats and jet skis are very considerate of others in the creek, ensuring there's no threat posed by the small wakes that are generated. Since many people have fishing boats, the normally very light boat traffic is mostly limited to entry and exit from the creek to get to areas where they can do fishing. In conclusion, this
Time up, sir. All right, thank you. All right. Ms. Susan McLeod?
No, it's whoever signed up.
Signed?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Susan McLeod. My husband and I live at 620 Holly Haven Road. I've been asked to read excerpts from Keith Kidd's letter to the Board of Supervisors. Keith lives full-time at 303 Berkeley Forest Drive. He and his wife Della, like 4 other families on the creek, are active members of the Northern Neck Sail and Power Squadron, which seek to increase boating safety through education. I recently learned of the appeal to the Board of Supervisors to turn Taylor's Creek into a no-wake zone. This request was initiated by Dr. Weinland. Unfortunately, he never approached all of the waterfront owners, including us. He has taken it upon himself to solve perceived safety issues within the creek and shoreline erosion by requesting a no-wake zone. While I am certain Dr. Weinland is correct in assessing boat traffic is heavier than it was 30 years ago, I disagree that it is dangerously heavy now. The first point I want to make is that the entrance to Taylor's Creek is unmarked, largely leaving access to our creek only to those familiar with the creek entrance. I've pulled my 7-year-old granddaughter on a raft in the widest part of the creek, nearing the opening because it's the safest place where I can operate at a low speed without wave action. We have kayaks and frequent the creek with our grandchildren. I find boaters to be respectful and have no issues of my 7-year-old kayaking or my 14-year-old sailing on the creek. In fact, we've watched boaters slow down as they encounter them and go around as they are required to do according to navigation rules. As one who has experienced erosion, I would like to present an alternate view of the cause of erosion. The bank adjacent to our dock steps collapsed and 3 feet of earth washed away. We hired Scott Jones to plan and help us through the process of reinforcing our bank. The conclusion was that the erosion was caused by heavy rains over the winter. Because the area is protected by a sandbar, it's highly unlikely wave action of any kind was at fault. I was invited to meet Adrian Jennings, who offered valuable insights on shoreline erosion. We met at her
1
home near
minute
Dr.
remaining.
Wineland's property at low tide, allowing us to see the shoreline. We observed bank face eroding at varying rates. We observed that where vegetated grasses persist, there's less erosion. By contrast, we observed areas with overhanging tree canopies where grass cannot grow due to shade from the trees. These areas were characterized with collapsed trees and bank failure, just like I have experienced in 2021. Mr. Jennings pointed out an area down Dr. Wineland's property that is protected by a sandbar, yet it is still characterized by collapsing trees and soil erosion. Shoreline erosion is a concern for unprotected areas. However, tidal changes in weather far outweigh Taylor Creek's boat traffic. Consider that we have 730 high tides each year, while 4 months of summer weekend boating results in approximately 32 days of boating. Thus, the erosion is not from the light boat traffic that we do have on Taylor's Creek. Please vote against placing a no-wake zone on Taylor's Creek. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tom Harrington?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Tom Harrington, and my wife and I live on the waterfront of Taylor's Creek for the last 2 years. We started visiting here about 7 years ago, and 2 years ago, we bought a place, and we're just so happy. I got an offer to join a hospice organization, and when that offer came, I'm a hospice physician, and I grabbed it. We sold our house. We sold my practice in Chesapeake, Virginia, and moved up here full-time, and we don't look back. We enjoy the solitude, the beauty, the quietness of Taylor's Creek. You know, just personally, we swim, we kayak, We fish, we boat, we crab, we oyster, we do all the luxuries of this creek. We also have not witnessed any misuse of the creek or acting dangerously in the water. There was a comment that it's all outsiders that coming here. I really think our folks in the creek are definitely mindful of this. And I think to equate the mortality of kayaking in any creek in Virginia, we just can't compare that to Taylor Creek. So I would like to dispute the data that Dr. Wineland showed in terms of the slide. I'm excited for the new Taylor Creek boat ramp. That's going to be right across our property. It's going to bring kayaks. I welcome more kayaks to the, and I don't think there's going to be danger. This is shallow water, and there's not a lot of action. And I'm going to still kayak this creek, which I do year-round, as long as the temperature is above 40 degrees. And I'm going to take my 6 grandchildren kayaking without a problem. I think it's going to be a blessing to have that, and I really don't think this no-wake zone is going to affect that. So there was a comment about the number of docks, the number of power boats, and the mileage. So yes, there's a lot of mileage, but you know, this map that we couldn't see, clearly there's a ton of areas that requires mileage. So 592 acres is right across the creek from us that represents Indian Farms LLC. That 592 acres has no docks, has no dwellings. There's another 17 acres of docks. Again, I'm equating acres, we equated miles. Also 17 acres of solid land. It also has no docks, has no dwellings. So it's hard to compare these notes. I didn't also get a letter from Dr. Weiland. That data that he thinks that forward is just not true. We've taken the liberty of trying to express ourselves differences of opinion, obviously. So 16 Taylor Creek property owners that we have signed in support of rejecting this no-wake zone. We would all be affected by this no-wake zone, this quotes partial no-wake zone, we would all be affected. It is clearly my sincere hope that the Board of Supervisors will carefully consider our objections to this no-wake zone, which we're going to discuss more in terms of erosion, et cetera, and they would not impose unnecessary regulations on the citizens of this county in this small creek that we live in. Please reject this proposal for the Taylor's Creek no-wake zone, and I appreciate you listening to us and appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
Sir. Mr. James Ray.
Thank you. First thing I'm going to do is hand this information to you. This is a folder that has the 2021 recreational boating statistics. This is directly from the Coast Guard. This is Virginia DWR, same thing, boating statistics. And that's straight from their site.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Jim Ray. I'm the commander of the Northern Excel Power Squadron. I've been a member of the United States Power Squadrons for 15 years, residents of Taylor Creek for 9. If you don't know who the Power Squadron is, we teach boating safety through education. We're very, very strong on educating and having safe boaters out there. We use the water also. I've been following discussion related to the no-wake zone on Taylor's Creek, acting as a resource when asked, but I hadn't formed an opinion because I don't own waterfront property. However, when the conversation shifted to safety, now I'm interested. Now I have something I want to say. Dr. William had already gone over this once before, but no wake speed is defined as the slowest possible speed to maintain steerage and headway. Educated boaters learn the rules of the road that require operators to maintain no wake speed in presence of paddle craft within 50 feet of docks and marinas when people are on the water and in narrow channels and creeks, no matter what the wake designation is for those areas. Again, educated boaters are going to be your safest people on the water. I brought you a copy of the U.S. Coast Guard's 21 recreational boating statistics report and the 21 recreational boating incident summary published by the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources. The accident statistics I'm about to clarify can be verified in these documents. Some of these, again, Dr. William already had posted. I'm not going to go over most of those with you. The only thing that I will say along that lines is it's still, alcohol still continues to be the leading contributing factor of all fatal recreational boating accidents. Where the cause of death is known, 81% of the victims drowned. Only 17% of those were wearing a life jacket, which is a very sad, stupid thing. Only 2.2% of accidents involved
1 minute
boaters
left.
Who were educated through some formal program, face-to-face program, not something online. Only 2.2% versus 75% of all the accidents of people that had no education whatsoever. I agree, Taylor's Creek is a calm and beautiful, but the entrance is complicated and high risk of running aground, which, again, Dr. William talked about with the jet ski. The only markers identified are no longer there. There was markers, the Coast Guard pulled them out. Used to be 2 duck blinds, the storms took them out. In closing, simply designating a no-wake zone by installing a buoy won't be effective unless people understand the waterways, understand using the waterways, know that what no-wake means.
Thank you, sir. Okay. I may mispronounce the last name. Mr. Bruce Onweller? Good, thanks.
Thank you for your time. My wife and I, my name is Bruce Onmuller. My wife's name is Fawn Nelson. We bought in Taylor's Creek on 2019. We live there year-round. We love Taylor's Creek. We are against the no-wake zone on Taylor's Creek, and we bought in Taylor's Creek because we believe that's a safe place for me and my family, and it's quiet. And there's very little traffic. We plan to live there for many years, raise our grandchildren there. We're not there yet, but we have children that are close to it, and we kind of look forward to having a safe, calm place where we actually can take our kids, tubing and teach them how to ski. If we didn't have that place, we'd be pushed out into an area that it wouldn't be as safe. We have found that when we boat out, and when I go out in my boat, I rarely see any other boats. I would say that there's very little traffic there. So I'm kind of surprised that we're even thinking that we've got folks coming in from other areas. It's very tough to find. We actually have, when we go out, we have a marker to find our own way back. But again, safety for my kids is paramount. This action would require myself and my wife to take our kids, again, outside in rougher waters. We feel that's fairly dangerous. We've found that the boaters that we do encounter there are very respectful. They know the rules. They're, like I said, in every case, they've been neighbors in the years that I've been there. In our property, we are waterfront property, steps have been taken to protect our property from erosion. Thank you. Wakes are not high on the priority. When it was replaced, that had very little impact on on the erosion itself. Largely it was weather related. So, I think that is the best approach, is to take measures to stop erosion. No wake zones don't appear to help, especially on a calm, untraveled area like Taylor's Creek. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jim Davis?
Hi, good evening. My name's Jim Davis, and along with my wife Ashley, we purchased a property in 2020 on Taylor's Creek. It's a waterfront property, and one of the reasons we purchased that was so that we could enjoy the recreation of the area. It's a very serene, beautiful area, and we're fortunate to have a property on there. From our observation, we are part-time residents there, but we do come out probably about twice a month. And certainly we come around some of the peak boating time periods. And, from our observation, we see that Taylor's Creek is very quiet and has minimal boat traffic, and it's really restricted to those other residents in the area. We've never seen any dangerous conditions arising from boat traffic, and respectfully, it's our observation that any reports to the contrary are greatly exaggerated. Imposing a no-wake zone on Taylor's Creek, will increase the times for residents that it'll take to get to the entrance of the creek, and really, if a no-wake zone was imposed, it would have the greatest impact on the residents and not those outside of the area. I know someone earlier alluded to the definition of a no-wake zone. We don't believe that that would only add 5 to 10 minutes in additional travel time. Because of that definition, and I'll repeat it again, a no-wake zone is in which boaters must operate their motorboats at the slowest possible speed required to maintain steerage and headway. That will significantly add additional time to leave the area. Additionally, we pull our children on rafts. We rarely see anyone there. We're not aware of anyone who plays in these areas besides the neighbors. And also, we want to be able to enjoy that area, and it's much safer, much closer than the Cortoma and Rappahannock rivers that are deeper and have stronger currents and experience heavier boat traffic. We do have 2 school-age children. Our opposition to this does not mean that we are not focused on safety. If there is actual accurate information, we expect the board to carefully consider the empirical evidence, data, and studies before making any final decisions. And we provide and present accurate and relevant information that is specific to Taylor's Creek. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tony, I believe is Ennis? Ennis, E-N-N-I-S, okay.
Just made a chocolate.
Tell me when the time starts.
Whenever you start.
Okay. My name's Tony Ennis. We own the log cabin on Taylor Creek. We've been here for 16 years, and I support this motion. Our property has over 500 feet of shoreline overlooking the main body of water under discussion. I've been a boater all my life. I'm a former member of the Royal Motor Yacht Club and a past Commodore of Indian Creek. We've got some great neighbors on our beautiful creek, and some are highly proficient boaters. I know this because I give you all scores as you pass by. No, I don't. I do understand some of your reluctance to support this initiative, especially those further up the creek, who, if this motion is passed, might have a few minutes added to their journey time as they head out to the Corotoma. But why is it that the majority of those who overlook the wider part of the creek have almost universally responded in favor of a no-wake zone? I can tell you, not to irritate their good neighbors or create divide in the community. They've done it because we've witnessed and been on the receiving end of events that perhaps others have not. We've witnessed unwelcome behavior become unsafe behavior, and unsafe behavior become downright dangerous. I've personally seen boats generate an enormous wake along the unprotected shoreline. I've seen a jet ski slalom endlessly off the shoreline. I've witnessed many boats run aground at speed on our sandbar. The most recent grounding I'm aware of was the last July 4th weekend, a popular boating weekend. But perhaps the most worrying, we have also witnessed a jet ski traveling at 50 miles an hour transition our waterfront less than 30 feet from the shoreline and only feet from our dock. A dock where my children, grandchildren, and granddogs had been swimming and playing just minutes earlier. Conduct such as this is not only dangerous, but is actually unlawful to generate a wake within 50 feet of a dock. So, if this happened to you and your family, how would you be voting? Many of us ask ourselves, why does someone want to zip around our little creek when in minutes you can be in the Coratoman? You can then zip around to your heart's content, doing little damage to the environment and putting no one in danger, other than that perhaps yourselves. It is well established that paddle boards and wakeboards make uncomfortable bedfellows, especially in a small space. Finally, the county has just invited the general public onto Taylor Creek. The county, having now been fully warned of the potential risks, should fulfill its duty to ensure that Taylor Creek is safe to all comers. So, if you have an interest in preserving our little creek, if you have an interest in the preservation of the Chesapeake Bay, and if you have an interest in the safety of adults and children who enjoy our little body of water, this is an easy decision. Vote for the no-wake zone. The return to the many so outweighs the minor inconvenience to the few.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Wineland?
Hi, my name is Betsy Wineland, and as my husband said, we've lived here for 33 years permanently, and we have seen increase in boat traffic and erosion. And I know that my husband tried very diligently to contact as many people as he could through visiting or emailing or letters. He obviously couldn't get to everyone, but he did go visit some people. And when he started the process, he couldn't talk to everybody at once because you can't do that. So he talked to a few, and then he talked to more, and he talked to more. So I just wanted to say that I think he tried very diligently to get a feel for how many people would be in favor and how many would not be. Just wanted to say that, you know, as a grandmother, I want to see the creek be safe for my grandchildren to canoe, to learn to sail. And if you think about it, it only takes one accident of somebody maybe coming into the creek and not being cognizant of people swimming or children playing in their boats. It would only take one accident to make us all wish that it had been a no-wake zone. So I am obviously supporting that. The other thing is that we used to tube and ski with our children also, and we did it a couple of times within the creek, but we decided that it was causing too much wake, too much disturbance for the neighbors, so we always went out into the Coratoman, and we never had any issues out there. So, did I want to say anything else? So anyway, I do support the no-wake zone. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Ennis, Julie?
I'm small. My name is Julie Ennis, and I'm a resident of Taylor Creek. And like my husband, I have been in boating all my life. One thing I want to say from what I've heard from both sides is that we're all agreed that we are respectful boaters. And if we're all respectful boaters, having a no-wake zone won't be a problem. I support the proposed no-wake zone. As a mother, a grandmother, neighbor, and friend, and animal lover, I believe the no-wake zone will provide a far safer creek that we all can enjoy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I believe it's Mr. Ward? Yes, Ward. Okay.
My wife and I own property adjoining the new kayak lodge that's coming. And we have 2 kayaks, and we have a stand-up paddleboard, and we have a powerboat. And we do use it to pull kids on tubes on occasion. And when we moved there, there was no restrictions on the creek. I've been out on the creek in kayaks. I've been watching what's going on, and I've not seen a safety problem. We have 900 feet of shoreline, and where we've seen erosion is the part that's exposed to the wide sweep where the weather and the waves can come and work on it. The more narrow part where the boats are going by, he's sometimes fast. We see very little erosion. I've actually been a first responder on a mishap in the James River where 2 people drowned. I saved one, I saved a rescuer, and got him out as well. Those people were swamped by winds and waves. They weren't swamped by power boats, or power boats what saved them. That's all I want to say. I hope you'll vote no on it. I don't think the creek needs it. I think it's a solution looking for a problem. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Brown? No, hold on. I missed Mr. Thornton.
I don't want to repeat what's already been said.
You got
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Brown?
There is a risk of repeating what everybody said here. My wife and I have had a house on the creek for 15 years. We're not hit full-time. We have grandchildren that range from 1 to 22. And we have paddleboard, we have kayaks, and I can't think of ever an incident where I felt that they were in danger. Occasionally, I've seen a fast boat come through, I won't deny that, but not very often, very seldom in the last 15 years. So we think this is really a solution aimed at a problem that does not exist. Certainly not the porpoises or the subsurface of the water. My neighbor, Dave Whitaker, fishes every day, and he sent me an email, and he said he's been going past Mr. Ennis's sandbar for 36 years, and he's never seen it change. And everybody, including watermen, have been running aground in it over that 36-year period. So essentially, this is a problem that doesn't really exist, and so we really don't see a need for it. Some might say, well, it's a minor inconvenience, but I don't know, if you're barely making way, that's not necessarily a minor inconvenience. So we're opposed to it, and I would request or suggest that you vote no as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna slaughter some names. I'm gonna spell this one, J-U-E-I, first name? Judy. Judy? Oh, J-U-D-Y, all right.
I do not live on Taylor's Creek, but I have the privilege of leading a community kayak group, and we have gone to that beautiful creek and have enjoyed the serenity and the peace, and I support the no-wake zone. I live on a creek that has a no-wake zone, and as a paddler myself and a kayaker myself, I ask that you err on safety, and I support the no-wake zone.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna spell the last name. I believe this is G or S-I-F-F-E-R? Siffer. All right.
Andrew Sifford, as my wife, Reverend Judy Sifford, mentioned. We don't currently live on the creek, but we actually were residents there last year while we were building our house. We were able to enjoy some time on that creek. Paddling, boating in general, we very much enjoy it. We love it. As you said, the community in general is being invited now that there's going to be an access point. And so, as my wife also mentioned, we're the beneficiary of having a no-wake zone where we built our house. I'm very thankful for that. I could see the detriment that fast boats would cause. And so I'm in support of the no-wake zone.
All right, thank you, sir. Thompson?
Thompson?
Yes.
Name is Randy Thompson. I live up on Moran Creek, right around the corner over there, and I'm in support of the no-wake zone, and having a history in construction management. Safety is one of the hardest things we always have to push, but we all don't think it's that important until it is. And after I was finished construction, I taught geosystems and biology, and when I was told about this was going on, I started doing some more research about wave patterns, and they really do have a pretty detrimental effect on the environment. And so I'm for no wake zone.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right. Next, Ronan Thompson. All right. Pronounce your first name for me.
Ronan.
Ronan,
Yeah.
okay.
Can't tell I'm his son. Same house. Yeah, so I'm not going to say too much because a lot of it's been said already. One thing I will say is that Dr. Wineland has been in this community for over 30 years, and I think he's definitely seen the most out of this community. He understands what's been happening. Another thing to mention is, just as many of us here, you know, I've heard a lot of people saying they've only been here for, 15 years tops. A lot of people saying 6 years, 3 years. I heard a bunch of numbers thrown out. The area is growing. You know, you saw that map of Taylor's Creek from the 50s where 6 docks versus 73 now. This area is only going to keep growing as people get out of urban areas, come down here because it's a beautiful area. And I think it's going to be really important going forward to preserve, that tranquility that everyone loves in Taylor's Creek. And if what I've heard is most people in that creek are very responsible boat owners, they're safe drivers. And I think that, this no wake zone will not affect them. What's going to happen is, I think, as new people come into the area, maybe less responsible, newer boat owners, jet skiers, they're going to see that and go, oh, there's no wake zone. I'll be quiet through here. Ultimately, I think if you're a responsible boat owner in the area, the only downside to this is a possible 2 to 5 minute commute to the Coratoman. Other than that, there's no concern with this. I think it's kind of a no-brainer for preserving this tranquility of the area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Butler, Keith?
How's everybody today? I'm Keith Butler. I don't live on the Taylor's Creek, but the company I work for used to own property, but good enough, the county took it off our hands, thanks. But now it's going to open it up to the public, so there's going to be hopefully be a vast amount of people that's going to be their first time on the water, or maybe some people just going to be learning how to use a kayak or learning how to use a paddleboard in this tight area where the boats are going to be going through and having a good time. I always thought, I own a boat, I own a 21-foot bow rider. And I usually get on my boat to slow down, not to speed up, go out and miss all the beauty that's out there. But, if it's too late after somebody's died and saying, oh, we should have done this, it's great to see a community coming together and saying, we should do this before a bad accident happened. So I applaud all of y'all for coming out and giving your opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Denise Bushong? What's on?
Yes, it's Denise Bushong.
Bushong, okay.
Good job. Okay, I do live on Taylor's Creek. There's been a lot of people here that don't live on Taylor's Creek that seem to have an opinion. I have 2 things I want to bring up, and one was the map that showed I'm against the no wake zone. But the map that showed all the blue that said that these were all the people that agreed. Okay. My property, I do live on the creek, and my property was included in that blue. I did not respond back. I did get a letter. We did not respond back to Mr. Wineland. So maybe he assumed that no response means you can color it blue. I don't know. But so I don't know how accurate that map is, but I'll tell you that my property would not be blue. Okay. I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about the pictures that were shown of all the trees falling into the creek, and that is all true. It's all out there at the mouth of the creek, where you have the action from the Caratoman River, and as you get around that bend, that ceases, except directly across from there, where also you're having wind and weather issues from the open space of the Caratoman. You're also dealing with sandy bluffs on that area at the mouth of the Caratoman. Sandy bluffs fall in. They just do, whether there's water at the bottom of them or not. Sandy bluffs fall in. If you have big, heavy trees at the top, they're going to fall. They're going to pull them down. So what do you do to change that? You're going to have to deal with interventions, whether it's riprap, which is really not going to help those sandy bluffs, or whether it's going in and grading the property. I mean, there's a lot of people that on the rivers around here that live on the bluffs, and what do? They have it graded so that it's not a straight drop. Big trees bring bluffs down, so that is not all wave action. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Bushon?
Hello, I'm Steve Bushon. We live at 293 Grand Villa. We have 5 kayaks, a jet ski, and a 19-foot powerboat. As been previously mentioned, there's not a lot of great big boats on there. And generally speaking, we go out there and you just don't see a whole lot of boat action on there. And what you generally see is people being very respectful. So, you know, I oppose this thing. I don't doubt that there's an erosion problem. It is quite evident if you drive up along the river. And like my wife said, you really need to consider what the character is of the soil there. So anyhow, no, I oppose the action. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay. All right, that's all that's on the list. Anybody online? Okay, anyone that was not on the list in the audience here that want to speak? You, sir? Yes. And state your name.
Thank you. My name's Stan James, and I live on the Caratoman River. You've heard several people talk about, well, they go up on the Caratoman and do your activities. We have skiers, we have tubers. Our grandkids come up. We've got a tube to pull them. I love seeing the action out front. Where we are is not much wider than where Taylor's Creek is. I avoid going to Taylor's Creek because I don't know it that well, and it's easy to go ashore. But we have lots of activity, and we also have tubers. We have people with kayaks. We have stand-up paddle boards. We have kids that are out there playing, and I've never seen any problem. The boaters have always been courteous, and I like to see the activity. I love to see when the people are out there and enjoying the water. The county's going through a process of trying to encourage people now to get on the water, to give them better access, and the no-wake zone is, you virtually can't, you're going to avoid it completely if you have to, because you can't enjoy it. You can't even go at a reasonable speed. So I oppose it, but I'm not a resident there, like I say. But I just like to see the activity on the rivers around here. I like to see the people enjoying it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Sandy Ray. My husband ran out of time, so I just wanted to finish his comments. I've been a member of the Power Squadron for 15 years, avid boater, and lived on the creek for 9. The points that we'd like to make is that the entrance is very dangerous due to the sandbars that everybody has referenced. And since the ATONs were removed by the Coast Guard, the aids to navigation, in their cost-saving efforts, and also the 2 duck blinds that appear on the chart 1, 2, 3, 3, 5, are now gone because of weather events. So there are no aids to anyone trying to enter or exit the creek. So the increased number of boaters that will be coming in car top boaters, the paddleboarders, et cetera, are going to be at risk for running aground. In fact, many residents that we know have sustained significant damage to their vessels by running aground out there. Simply designating a wake zone by installing a buoy isn't going to be effective unless people know what that means. That's why we're advocating for education as a means to solve the issues that everyone is talking about here. Respectful boaters, do the right thing. We witnessed the ineffectiveness of a no-wake zone designation from our slip where our boat is on Carter's Creek. That was recently designated, and it's across from the Cove proposed site for the new launch ramp. We see people not observing the no-wake zone every day. It's not enforced, they just don't know what it means. You know, a lot of times I believe that to be true. Not that they're being disrespectful, they just don't know what it requires them to do. So if your goal is truly to improve safety on our waterways, we feel that your efforts and funds will be making the biggest impact in 3 specific areas. Number 1, focus on the number 1 cause of all accident fatalities by making boating safety education more accessible to the new boaters that you're inviting to use our waterways. Number 2, place life jacket loaner stations at both of your new launch parks to encourage all users to use them, to wear one. And I offer our squadrons assistance in establishing those loaner programs, sites, and also maintaining those. And 3, restore the aids to navigation buoys at the entrance to Taylor's Creek to help boaters navigate safely through the shoals. These 3 actions together will have a far greater impact on safety, not just on Taylor's Creek, but throughout all of Lancaster County, and we'd appreciate if you would consider that. Thank you so much, and we thank you for sharing our squadron's interest in preserving boating safety.
Thank you. Will you repeat those 3
Yes, sir.
things? Okay. They're in this packet. They in the packet? Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
so thank you very much.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, I'm Roy Martin. I do live on Taylor's Creek part-time. My wife and I purchased property on Granville Drive about 6 months ago. I'm a lifelong sailor and paddleboarder for, I guess, going on, stand-up paddleboarder for going on about 14 years now. Currently, we're part-time at our residence on Taylor's Creek, but every time we've been there, I go, and I think some of my neighbors have seen me paddleboarding, and I paddleboard out to the Caratoman, and I keep an eye on the creek as much as we can. And I agree that I believe this is a solution looking for a problem as far as Taylor's Creek's concerned, because we never see any traffic. I can probably count on one hand the number of power boats that I've seen on Taylor's Creek in the time I've been there. And I paddle out to the Caratoman, and I've been almost into the entrance in my Typhoon to try to find my way in, although I haven't brought it in yet. So I oppose it because I just don't think it's necessary at this time. I do support all environmental concerns and want to keep the beautiful creek peaceful in the way it is now. But I think this is something that if there is a problem, we can raise it. And I think everybody I'm acquainted with will actually do that, and we can address it at that time. But at this time, I just don't see a need for it. Personal experience, I've seen 1 crabber and maybe 3 power boats on our end of the creek in the time I've been there. And admittedly, I've been there as long as the doctor has been there, but it's just my experience, and I would oppose that regulation at this time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Thank you for holding this hearing.
State your name.
My wife and I,
State your name, sir.
my name is Bill Gimple, and we have had a place on Taylor's Creek for more than 20 years. My concern is we have lost
probably counting both sides of this little narrow stretch of the creek that we're on, over a dozen trees, and some of these are, 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old trees. And the erosion has filled in the channel, and I raise oysters on the creek. And oysters don't like siltation. At our dock, we have probably lost at least 3 feet, maybe a little bit more, in the last 20 years. So I'm concerned about preserving the quality of the water in the creek, and I am wholeheartedly in favor of a no-wake zone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. You said somebody's online?
Yes, Kelly Butler.
Kelly Butler. All right. You can speak, ma'am.
Hi, Kelly Butler. Good evening, and thank you for the time. I've been a resident of Taylor's Creek for just about 3 years now. My husband and I have a power boat. We also paddleboard and kayak. I've always been quite surprised how fast people roll through the creek. We like to enjoy the nature and the peace and tranquility. And I agree with the others. I'm really concerned about safety. It just takes one, mishap, misunderstanding of someone to get hurt. It's a very narrow creek. We are in favor of the no-wake zone and just slow down just a little bit. I think it's probably in the best interest, particularly with building a public area with more paddleboarders and kayakers coming into the creek. And just going slow, I think you have a lot more time to react and correct things. So we're in favor of the no-wake zone. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Anyone else?
No, sir.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience before I close the public hearing? Okay. Going once.
I'll just go.
All right.
That's allowed.
No, you've already spoken once. All right, going once, going twice. Anyone that hasn't spoken? Okay. Public hearing is now closed. All right, Jeff.
Mr. Chairman, hearing both sides, pros and cons, and listening to this, I'm suggesting that we don't take any action on this tonight, that our staff do a deeper dive into the safety issue and the erosion. We have people on staff that are competent people that can look into the erosion part of it, find out exactly, if that's power boats, wicks, whatever that is, and look into this safety issue. Really, how many safety problems have we had on Taylor's Creek? We getting all these numbers, but we haven't really dived into it. So I think, we don't take any action. That's my suggestion.
I'm agreeing with you because I'm listening to both sides. And both sides are making some points. So I said, well, I need to know more about really what's happening. All right, so I agree with that. All right.
Since it's my district, can I
Yes.
speak?
All right, yes, sir. We want to hear from you.
Well, first of all, I don't like rules. I never have liked rules. I wish I could drive my boat as fast as I could, and I wish I could drive my car as fast as I could, but unfortunately, I can't do that. When I was 6 years old, my grandfather built me a boat. He built me a flat-bottom boat on Taylor's Creek. And that's another thing. I think it's called Taylor's Creek. I know that it's probably written formally as Taylor Creek, but growing up, I called it Taylor's Creek. So for 54 years, I have known Taylor's Creek. My grandfather built me that boat, and he built me that small boat so that I could soft crab. And I would catch the most soft crabs underneath of the trees that have fallen. We've had erosion since I was born on Taylor's Creek. No one knows that creek better than I do. My grandfather had 2 work boats. He had a 38-foot dead-rise boat called the Julianne, and he had a fish boat called the Miss Anna Mae, and that one was 36 feet. And many times he ran. Am I on the?
Time's up. You're cut off, Bill. You're cut off.
Holy smoke. And so, so he has run aground. He's run aground, he's run over crab pots, and my job as a teenager was to put the knife in my mouth and jump overboard and cut the rope out of the wheel. And I did that many, many times. I keep my boat now in Dividing Creek, and I have to adhere to a no-wake zone. And my son, who's here with us tonight from he's a senior at Virginia Tech. Blake, would you stand up, please?
Yeah.
Blake knows how much I don't like no-wake zones. And when we creep out of Dividing Creek, and as soon as we hit that no-wake buoy, I floor it. And he does the same thing. The challenge that we face is that now we have ownership of land in Taylor's Creek. And with that being said, when I ran for this job, I said there are 3 things that are going to always be important to me. The first one will be safety, and I will not adhere from that. I will stand firm on that. The second one will be education, and the third one will be business growth. And so if we voted tonight, I would vote in favor of the no-wake zone. And I know that you're going to be upset with me. I already have the people in Irving upset with me because I voted against their no truck traffic zone. I didn't want to see that. But being that we're going to fill that creek with kayakers and boaters and sailboarders and paddle boarders and even boats, it's going to be a very busy creek. And it is 8 feet, but that's right in the middle. There is no room for air there. Blake will attest that when he was on the water, all 3 kids were on the water from an early age. And I took them out to the deepest part of any area to ski because I did not want to be near the shoreline. I didn't want to be near anyone. I just wanted to see their safety. And I took them out to the bay. And they loved it because it was always rough and choppy there. But I will say, if we voted tonight, I would vote in favor of the no-wake zone.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would agree with Mr. Lee. I would like to see us gather some more information. I will tell you, I'm probably the least knowledgeable person of being on the water. I am the pure definition of a land person, so I know very little about boats and know very little about Taylor's Creek and called some people today. And when I walked in here, I didn't know where I was going to go. And I've heard some good arguments on both sides of this issue. But one thing that dawned on me in the middle of this, and it had not hit me until tonight, is we have greatly added to their problem by putting that boat ramp down there or projecting to put that. And I think we need to look at what that is and how that's going to affect that creek. And I think what Mr. Lee has proposed is a wise way to go about it. That's my
But
thought.
gentlemen, we're not, the other thing is we're not up here to debate erosion or try to stop erosion. That's not our job. That's the responsibility of the landowner. And I know that Indian Farms area, that should all be riprap. And each year, they lose more and more of it. If we're going to try to stop erosion as a board, then we've set ourselves up for all kinds of issues. I think that as a board, we look at safety and not so much erosion.
Yeah.
Well, I think with the added traffic that'll be there, safety is a big problem.
Yes.
That's my concern.
Yeah, and what I was listening, I heard people talk about safety. Some said it's no problem, others said there is a problem. Yes, and I've heard what you've said.
I have mixed opinions on this as well. I mean, I've been a boater all my life, being a responsible boater. I've enjoyed watercraft activities out on the creeks. I do understand that adding to this, adding traffic to the creek will add additional hazards and increase potential safety risks, so that is something we should consider. But looking at the other wake no zones that we have approved, most of these are in more, what I'd call more narrow stretches of creek, or in higher commerce areas. The one on Carter's Creek, there's a lot of marinas. The other one was near the Mary Point Ferry. The other one is on a very narrow stretch of Dimers Creek, and I believe that's the only ones we've approved. So the only, in comparing those ones, I'd say those don't really compare necessarily to this one, because the creek area where this is proposed is a bit more open than those. At this point, I would probably be inclined to vote against the no-wake zone.
Would it give you heartburn if we delay this and come back after we've done some further study?
Are we able to do a study as a county? We're asking our officials to do something I'm not sure they're qualified to do. What study would you do? Would you get out and count the number of boats?
No, I think we would contact the higher sources, DWR,
And
VMRC, and try to get statistics from them. You know, that's going to be how we pursue that.
We will, we can table it and do that study. I will say that for everyone here, you see the creek now. You haven't seen the creek once the park opens, and you don't know what that's gonna look like. And so we can either be proactive or reactive. That's all I'm trying to be.
I I would say if you all, you closed the public hearing, so if you decide to table this, it'll come back as a consideration item, and it will not be another public hearing.
And if you decide to table
We
it,
just come back and vote on it.
I would suggest if you decide to table it, that you table it to a date certain, rather than simply let it hang.
Right.
You might want to table it for 60 days or
60
some
days.
period of time, so that
60 days.
Well,
these people will know when.
But is
the
that
decision-
time, is that ample time to have the?
Yeah, I think that's,
Could we get clarity on what specifically we're asking the staff to do?
yeah, I mean, all I heard was safety and erosion.
Safety is the number one issue. And I don't know, see, I keep hearing both sides. Some saying it's no problem. Has anything been reported? You know, has any conditions been reported on Taylor's Creek to any water policeman or sheriff, or has anything been reported?
The answer, Bill, is no, because no one knows about Taylor's Creek. And you're right, if you're running up the shoreline, you don't see it, you miss it, you go right by it. It's kind of hidden up there.
Yeah.
But as a board, we're changing that. We're making it
Well-
known to the general public, not
But-
just the
but-
residents of.
But, you know, we
Lancaster.
hearing almost the same numbers saying, no, there's no problem, and some saying, yes, there is a problem. So that's why I'm saying, let's find out if we
There is
do
no
it.
problem. As of right now, as of today, there is no problem because there's not enough traffic on there to be a problem. But as I'm saying, we're changing that.
I understand that part. I'm looking down
Okay.
220, 2023 and 24 also, but I think we need to do our due diligence and make sure that what I'm voting on in here, I need to.
If we approve and
If
it
there were any
goes to
boating
the,
accidents,
and
those
it
would have
goes
been
to the
reported.
next step,
Yeah.
we're
That's what
we're
yeah.
approving it just to go to the next step. We're
Ye-
not approving it to be in place.
that is
We
correct.
don't have the authority to do that. With that, does a study come into play? What do they look at when they decide?
I don't know the answer to that, Mr. Smith. I will add that our friends from the Northern Neck Sail and Power Squadron just gave us tonight the recreational boating incident summary from DWR, so we can pour through that and pull out relevant pages, as well as 2021 recreational boating statistics from the Coast Guard. So we can pour through that, pick out relevant pages, and provide you. You would be just approving a recommendation to DWR, and then DWR has the final say. Now, what they go through, I don't know. I know they visit the site, and they use their resources, and they come up with an answer. Either they approve what you sent them, they modify it and approve it, or they deny it. But the actual process that they go through, I don't know that answer.
I think the statute reads that once you pass it on, the director has 30 days in which to act on
Yeah.
whether to approve, disapprove, or to modify the request. Now, what he looks at, the statute isn't clear.
Were you saying, Mr. Cornwell, the statute is clear, or?
Oh, you know the statute's not clear. We've had these discussions before about many statutes.
Up to interpretation?
Yes. The General Assembly in its wisdom has adopted this.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, my recommendation or motion, I guess, would be to table it for 60 days.
Okay. All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay?
Just,
How many?
well, the six,
It was 4 to 1.
It's
4-1. The 60-day timeframe would take us, I mean, unless you want to call a special meeting, would carry you to the February 23rd.
February, yeah.
February 23rd meeting, 7 o'clock, same place. But again, it would not be a public hearing. It would come back as a consideration.
Yeah, our discussion and vote. Okay. I feel better doing that. All right, okay.
I move for approval of the consensus docket.
All right, you heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote, okay. Let's see.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the expenditures for the month of November. We do not have the December ones until January due to the early meeting time, but we were approving the ones from November that we were not able to do from our early November meeting. Total invoices, $1,720,901.59. Total payroll, $382,949.35, for a total of $1,713,831.21, of which capital improvements were $1,176,473.08, and ARPA expenditures of $126.72.
Okay, you've heard that. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote there, okay. Mr. Gill, award of contract.
Mr. Chairman, I revised the agenda late this afternoon to include this consideration item. You all had directed staff some time ago to send out an RFP for a reassessment firm to conduct a general reassessment for the county. On November 13th, I sent out that RFP requesting bids from qualified individuals or firms to conduct complete general reassessment of real property in the county. During calendar year 2023, their new values would become effective January 1 of 2024. Proposals were due back to me by December 9th, last Friday at 5 p.m. We got 2 responses. One was from the firm which completed our prior general reassessment in 2018. That was Wampler Eanes. Their amount was $450,000, excluding mobile homes, so that would have added more to it. They had a fee of $15 per mobile home. We have 406 in the county, so that would have been another $6,000 and some dollars added to that. A second proposal was received from Cowan Services LLC in the amount of $407,762. That amount included mobile homes. Their fee per mobile home was $8 versus the Wampler Eanes. These figures are based on the total number of parcels in the county. I think it's 14,962. Wampler Eanes had a per parcel fee of like $29.95, I believe it was, and Cowan had a per parcel fee of $27. Wampler Eanes has been doing reassessments for a long time. As I said, they did our prior one. There aren't many firms out there that do mass appraisals now, very few. Cowan is a relatively new firm. They've been doing this for about 18 months. Their principal is a certified general appraiser, also an instructor with the International Association of Assessors. In prior experience, he's worked for numerous counties in their Department of Assessors. He's also worked for Wampler Eanes in the past. Many years of experience in the reassessment business. Went out on his own, started his own company, has done 6 reassessments, and is currently working on the reassessment for the city of Hopewell. Because it was a relatively new firm and it was the lowest bidder, Commissioner of Revenue Marlon Savoy and I Zoomed with him earlier today, asking questions, clarifying things, and we also checked references and talked with the city of Hopewell, and we got very good responses from everyone we spoke to. So after our review, Commissioner Savoy and I are making the recommendation that the board award this contract for the 2023 general reassessment. All the work will be done during the calendar year 23. The values that come up with during that work will be effective January 1 of 2024. We're recommending that you award this contract to Cowan Services LLC as the most responsive and lowest bidder in the amount of $407,762. I will say that that's a tremendous increase over the 2018 figure. The 2018 figure was $220,000 that it cost the county.
How much did we pay the equalization board?
Well, that's true. I didn't include that in, but that's not a whole lot of money. Maybe, I think it was maybe 10,000.
Because they had an excessive amount of hearings from the last time.
They did. They had quite a few.
Quite a few perceived inaccuracies that proved to bore out to be pretty inaccurate based on the results of what happened from that commission.
Well, and, you know.
So that would bolster going to another possible outcome.
We, as I said, that's the commissioner and I's recommendation to go with Cowan.
Not to mention that since there's so few firms and there's seems to be a very lucrative profession, that more people should perhaps pursue this as a career possible choice, sitting there in the back.
So I know Mr. Geezy asked me earlier today, why did I think the price had gone up so much? And, you know, the main thing that comes to mind right away is fuel, because these folks have to visit every parcel in the county, take a picture, make a sketch, you know, and so I think that's the main driver for the increase in the cost.
Can't they use drones for that now?
I don't know the answer to that, Mr. Bellows.
I thought the gas prices were dropping though. One question, Don. On his letter here, he's also asking a question about replacing the computerized assessment system. Is that something we have in the capital budget, or what's the plan for that? I see his note in here.
Yeah, we don't have that in the capital budget right now, and in talking with Commissioner Savoy, they, in the commissioner's wing, would like to do this reassessment with the current software because, you know, we're used to it, we've done it before. And they believe that if we try to integrate brand-new software during this reassessment, it's going to cause more problems than not. Now, Mr. Cowan has the exact opposite view. He thinks it's easier to do it at the time that you do a reassessment. The camera system is what it's called, CAMRA, and I don't know exactly, I can't recall exactly what that acronym stands for, but that's what we use. The city of Hopewell is actually switching from camera to, I think it's called Vision, is the new software that everyone is going to end up having to go to. So we've got probably 3 years to do that, and it's the commissioner's choice not to do that during this reassessment, or her wish that we not do that during this reassessment, that we do this reassessment under the current software system and look at replacing it a couple years from now.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we award the contract for the general reassessment to Cohen Services LLC for the amount of $407,762.
Okay. You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous vote. Okay. Board reports. Let's see, I'd like to appoint Sherry Kaiser to the Broadband Authority. All right, you've heard that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote, okay. Any others?
I have an appointment. Bruce Sanders from District 5 is willing to serve again on the Economic Development Authority Board.
Okay, okay, you've heard that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, approved unanimously.
I got one question. I had talked to Jeff Saprinsky, and he said he had talked to you about a person that, see, his term expired.
Yeah.
So I called him, and he said, well, I already talked to Mr. Gill about that, you know.
If he did, I forgot.
Okay. All right, I'll reach out to him again, because he has a person in mind, but I don't want to throw it out, you know.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not aware. I know you and I talked about one
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Is it the same person that you and I talked about?
I don't, no,
Okay.
no, okay.
Well, the EDA will meet on January 19th. So they have 2 vacant seats. Well, if you choose, you haven't voted yet on Bruce Sanders, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, so you fill one. So it's just one vacant seat. So they will meet before your next January 26th meeting, but they should have no problem having a quorum for the meeting.
He will hang over unless,
That's right, yeah.
he hangs over until.
Until someone, yeah, until it's replaced, so yeah.
Any additional board reports? Okay,
Well,
Minister.
no, I do. So going back to putting this burden on our staff to find out if there should be a no wake on Taylor's Creek, does the VRMC, would they be willing to do a study for us? Do they do that for a fee, or, because what we're being asked to do as a board is make a decision on something we just don't know enough about.
Yeah.
We don't know what the traffic is going to be like. We don't know what erosion's all about. We've been asked to do something that we're just not qualified to do.
And I don't know the answer to that question. VMRC usually deals with, shoreline preservation projects, oyster leases.
I agree with Mr. Smith, it's about safety, so the only real data point that's important from the staff would be to get any accident reports
Yeah.
or any data from
Yeah, well,
boating accidents that have occurred on that creek.
Well, I think, like I said, I think we can go through this information that was provided tonight and
Also what the future traffic would propose.
well, I don't,
That's an unknown, I think.
yeah, I don't know how you,
I'm thinking from their past experience, maybe.
yeah. Well, I can ask the questions. I don't know what kind of answers I'm going to get.
I doubt they do boat counts like they do road counts. do they?
Exactly. It's not like calling VDOT and asking them, what's the projected increase, average daily traffic count for a new school? VDOT can tell you that, but I don't know if I can call VMRC or anyone and say, what's the projected average?
Specifics, but what their experience is.
Yeah, what they
experience
think.
has been.
Yeah, that would-
By opening up that park, we're just not inviting kayaks and non-motorized boats. We're also inviting jet skis. And I know you have to have a license for a jet ski, but anyone can go online and get a license. Doesn't mean you know how to drive it. So there is gonna be a lot more traffic, and there are gonna be jet skis in Taylor's Creek. And it is wide, Jason, it is a wide creek.
Yeah.
But when you look at the depth of it, the 8 feet is there.
Yeah, it is shallow.
But it is extremely shallow, and tubing across those sandbars and then those rocks in front of, I think, your house. All of that is just so dangerous.
We'll do our best to answer the questions as far as safety goes, pouring through that information and checking with VMRC, and we'll see what we get.
Yeah, after that's done, I feel better about making a decision. I felt like I did my due diligence,
We haven't, I don't recall, and I'm asking this question, we're planning that park to not have any restrictions on what kind of boats can launch there?
It
Is
would
that
be-
my
I
understanding?
thought it was only car top.
It is car top.
Car top.
Car top,
Yeah, car
okay.
top
All right.
boats. That's in the deed from the new tides to the county.
So there won't be a jet ski. launch.
Yeah,
So it shouldn't be-
shouldn't be any jet skis.
Okay, that's what I was
there.
wondering.
Yeah.
Okay. gentlemen,
Mr. Chairman?
Anything else? County Administrator report?
I don't have anything for you tonight, other than the offices will be closed next Friday, the 23rd, and Monday, the 26th, and
will
the
be
following
plowing on the
Monday,
22nd.
January, and the following Monday, January 2nd, for the Christmas holiday. So,
Well, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting to our next meeting.
So moved.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, well, now we get ready to go to our Board of Supervisors organization meeting. And I'm letting Mr. Gill handle that part and starting it off.
well, I'll handle the first part of it, Mr. Chairman. I'll call the 2023 organizational meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order. The first order of business is to elect a chairman of the board for 2023. So the floor is open for nominations.
I'd
for
like to
chairman.
nominate Mr. Palin to serve as chair in 2023 again.
I second.
Any other nominations? All right, all those in favor of Mr. Palin being the 2023 board chairman, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries.
You saw that train coming, right?
Mr. Palin, at this time, I can turn it back to you because you are now the 2023 chairman.
All right. I'd like to I'd nominate Jason Bellows for the vice chair.
Second.
Second.
All right.
You all don't require a second for your vote.
I know it, you doing it in
Still, we want to get it quick.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Bellows, the vice chair. The next thing is the committees that we've been assigned to. My recommendation, if you all will go along with that, we just keep the same committees. All right?
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with it.
Make a motion on
Are you
that?
good with that?
So moved.
Can you refresh me on my committees?
All right. You heard that motion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All right.
You need to set your meeting date.
Yeah, you skipped over the meeting dates, Mr. Palin.
Meeting dates.
2023 meeting dates.
Oh, yeah. All right.
You have in your package
You
proposals.
gotta-
Yeah, it's the last Thursday of the month, except for November and December, like it has been for,
Second Thursday, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
So the second Thursday, right?
Let me see, it's the third, is it the third Thursday in November? Because there's 5 Thursdays this year in November. It's the last Thursday of every month except for November, which will be,
16th.
yeah, 16th, which is the third Thursday, and then December 14th, which is the second Thursday in December.
And the others are the last Thursday of each month.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's, that's consistent with
Worked
many.
all these years, and I
Yep.
guess it'll keep working.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move that the date for 2023 be approved.
All right, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous vote, that passes. All right, and we already taken care of the appointments, all right. Bylaws, all right.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you all revised your bylaws back in June to say that 2 members could participate electronically. It previously was 1, and you.
Because the statute changed.
Yeah, you revised that in June. I don't have any recommendations for any other bylaw changes.
Okay,
I'd move for adoption.
okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Okay. Strategic plan, updates.
Now, I mean, Mr. Chairman, you all first adopted this in 2019. I know at a meeting or two, you've gone over these and added to them. I can tell you that we are, making progress on many of these items, and some items we still need to work on. So,
I'd move for adoption of this, because we'll be reviewing this with the 2035, essentially, and readopting that plan, which will basically be incorporated with this plan at that point. So I would move that we approve the strategic plan.
All right, you've heard
as
the motion.
presented.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote there, okay. Okay, I'd entertain a motion, unless somebody got anything else to say. I'd entertain a motion to our next regular meeting.
Just Merry Christmas to everyone.
Yep. Okay, motion?
I move that we adjourn to January
26.
26th
Okay,
at 7 o'clock.
all right. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote.
Merry Christmas.
All right.
Thank you, thank
All right.
you.
You're welcome.
I think we're getting ready to get a Merry
Rest of
Christmas.
mine gets to it.
You come and get me?